The air was thick with the acrid sting of chemicals, and the crowd's gasps sliced through the chaos like a blade. I lay sprawled in the dirt, my face pressed against the earth, the taste of grit and shame bitter on my tongue. My heart pounded as my horse, Sentinel, let out a bone-chilling scream, his massive body rearing against the pain, searing his flank. 50 pairs of eyes bore into my veterans, families, kids clutching balloons that bobbed mockingly in the breeze. And there, at the center of it all, stood Evelyn Carver, her lips curled into a triumphant sneer, gripping a hose that dripped with menace. She doused Sentinel with something VY-low, something that burned through his coat and into my soul. My Sare VYC dog, Ember, barked furiously, straining at her leash as my nephew, Caleb, clung to my arm, his voice trembling. "Aunt Mara, she's hurting him," he cried. Evelyn didn't flinch. She thought she'd won. She had no idea the storm she'd just unleashed. My name is Mara Kendall, and 2 years ago, I came to Willow Creek seeking peace. A rural haven, they called it trolling hills, quiet nights, a place to outrun the ghosts of war. I carried the weight of PTSD, mobility issues, and a body that betrayed me more often than not. The VA had prescribed something unconventional, not a dog, but Sentinel, a quarter horse with eyes that saw through my cracks. Trained to sense heart rate spikes, blood pressure drops, and the creeping dread of panic, he was my lifeline. At 16 hands, he was a giant, but smarter than most people, especially Evelyn. He'd nudge me in crowded stores, stand steady when my legs buckled, and rest his head on my shoulder during sleepless nights. He wasn't just a horse. He was VA-classified medical equipment, my anchor in a world that kept trying to pull me under. Willow Creek had been kind at first. Neighbors waved, brought casseroles, asked about my deployments with cautious respect. Then Evelyn arrived, a whirlwind of pearl earrings and Merlot breath, seizing the HOA presidency like it was a crown. She swept in 6 months ago with promises of order, her clipboard a scepter, her smile a weapon. She didn't introduce herself, she just pointed at Sentinel grazing in my yard and snapped. "Is that legal?" I showed her his VA ID tag, federal certification etched in metal. She scoffed, muttering about emotional livestock and property values. I should have known then she'd be trouble, but I was too tired to fight shadows. The violation started small. A notice on my porch, non-domestic animal presence. Then another, unauthorized fencing. For the record, Sentinel didn't live in a stable. He slept in a lean-to on my 2 acres, his presence as unobtrusive as a horse could be. He didn't wander, didn't trample gardens. He saved me from collapsing in grocery aisles and hyperventilating in parking lots. But Evelyn didn't care about facts. She cared about control. She'd film Sentinel from her car, post grainy VY deos on Nextdoor about unsanitary droppings and aggressive snorting. I laughed once snorting was his way of saying hello. She called it a threat. The breaking point came at the VA's Veterans for Healing Festival, a sun-drenched afternoon meant to mend wounds, not tear them open. Food trucks lined the field, therapy booths offered pamphlets, and kids darted between bounce houses. The VA had in VY Ted Sentinel as a guest, his rare ADA training a beacon for their program. I brought Caleb, my sister's kid, who'd been battling anxiety since his dad's 3rd deployment. I wanted him to see what Sentinel could do, to feel the hope I'd found. I didn't know Evelyn was on the planning committee. I thought the VA's endorsement would shut her up. I was wrong. The first hour was perfect. Sentinel stood calm under a tent, kids stroking his muzzle, Caleb beaming as he fed him carrots. Veterans swapped stories, their hands lingering on Sentinel's flank like he was a talisman. Then I heard her voice, sharp and righteous, cutting through the chatter. "Who authorized this beast?" Evelyn stormed over, white capri pants pristine, her rhinestone VY sword glinting like a warning. "Health code violation," she barked, jabbing a manicured finger at Sentinel. "He's federally protected, Evelyn." The VA requested him. "Calm down." Her eyes narrowed, and she hissed, "Fake vets and their props." She spun on her heel, and I thought that was the end of it. 15 minutes later, Caleb's scream shattered the air. I turned just as a stream of liquid hit Sentinel's side, the stench of VY Negar and bleach choking the breeze. He reared, hooves slashing the air, his whinny a raw cry of pain. Evelyn stood there, grinning, a weed-killer tank in her hands, the hose still dripping. "Code V violations need correcting," she said, her voice dripping with smugness. I sprinted toward her, but my bad leg buckled, and I hit the ground hard, dirt grinding into my palms. Sentinel thrashed, Caleb sobbed, and Ember lunged, barking wildly. The crowd froze, phones out, filming the nightmare. Sheriff Dan Holt pushed through, his radio crackling. He took one look at Sentinel's trembling frame, the chemical burns streaking his coat, and grabbed the tank from Evelyn. "What's wrong with you?" he growled, reading the label, "Industrial Use Only." He glanced at Sentinel's VA badge, then back at her. "Always this stupid, or is today special?" Evelyn blinked, clutching her HOA binder. "It's just a pet. I'm protecting standards." Dan's jaw tightened. "Lady, that's a federal alert animal. You just committed a felony." Caleb tugged my sleeve, tears streaming. "She sprayed the mayor's horse too, Aunt Mara. The one for the VA demo." My stomach dropped. The mayor's therapy horse, Juniper, was part of the same program and national initiative. Evelyn hadn't just attacked Sentinel. She'd escalated this to a federal disaster. Dan's radio crackled again, and he called for wildlife enforcement, then VA officials. The crowd murmured, veterans coughing as the chemical fumes spread. A kid clutched her eyes, wheezing. Evelyn, obly VY us, lectured Dan about biosecurity until he snapped, "You know what you did?" She smirked. "Protected the community?" Sentinel shivered, VA medics rushing to flush his burns. I held Caleb close, my own panic rising, but Sentinel's training held us stayed near, even in pain. Dan lifted a tarp near Evelyn's booth, revealing more chemical jugs and an HOA receipt her name scrawled across it. Felony assault wasn't her only crime. She'd misspent HOA funds on her vendetta. "No board vote," Dan muttered, bagging the EVY Denke. "That's theft." Evelyn scoffed, then bolted, her sandals flapping comically. Deputies caught her in seconds, cuffs clicking as she rambled about deep state horses and conspiracies. The crowd's whispers turned to shouts. Phones captured every second her spray, my fall, Sentinel's pain. By nightfall, her mugshot was online. Frizzy hair, stunned eyes, captioned HOA tyrant sprays veteran's horse. Reddit exploded. Nextdoor imploded. The internet had found its VY lane. The fallout was swift. VA officials arrived Monday, their jackets crisp, their questions sharper. They took my files, Sentinel's badge, Caleb's shaky VY Deo, and Evelyn's own post-weeks of footage calling Sentinel a fraudulent mule. The feds weren't just building a case. They were dismantling her life. Charges piled up: animal cruelty, chemical misuse, alert animal assault, child endangerment, fund theft, and interference with a federal program. Evelyn's lawyer, a flustered man in a pink tie, tried to spin it. No vest, no status, my fault for bringing a horse. The VA shut him down. ID's optional, they said. The law's clear. Body cam footage crushed her lies, her sneer, her spray, her glee. She had no defense. Willow Creek unraveled. The HOA board stand Reese, Marcy Klein, Doug Walsh scrambled to distance themselves, offering me coffee cards and apologies. I wanted accountability, not pity. Stan quit. Marcy tried ousting Evelyn, but she was already jailed. Bill Tate, a quiet widower, took over as president, apologizing live on a VY Rouse stream. Neighbors clapped back, one shouting, "Pay my mortgage, then talk." The mayor, grim-faced, called the festival a test for regional therapy funding. Evelyn's stunt had jeopardized care for hundreds of vets. "Testify," he urged. I nodded, Sentinel's burns still raw in my mind. Court was a circus. Vets packed the gallery, news vans tripled outside, and strangers sent vet bill offers I didn't take. I wanted justice, not charity. Evelyn's lawyer flailed, claiming I provoked her. The judge wasn't ha-VYing it. This is a medical aid, not a pet, she snapped. A VA agent testified about Sentinel's role, how he'd caught my heart rate spikes in crowded rooms, steadied me during flashbacks. Caleb took the stand, voice small but clear, describing Sentinel's pain and Evelyn's laugh. I went last, raw and honest. The war, the fear, Sentinel's calm, Caleb's tears. The footage replayed Evelyn's spray, my fall, Sentinel's scream. Jurors winced. An accountant exposed her spending. Wine retreats, padded bills, porta-potty scams. The money stung worse than the cruelty. Guilty. All counts. 18 months in prison, 3 years probation, VA restitution, and a lifetime HOA ban. Evelyn sobbed, her pearls long gone, her clipboard revoked. Outside, vets cheered, Caleb waved, and Sentinel, cleared for light duty, grazed nearby. The VA gave us Echo, a night terror dog, to bridge the gap while Sentinel healed. His burns faded, but his alerts were slower, maybe forever. Caleb slept in the loft some nights, guarding him. I let him. We needed purpose. Willow Creek bloomed again. Bill's transparency rebuilt trust, and I chaired a vet committee, leading parades with Sentinel in a vest Caleb designed. Strangers sent gnome, statues one holding pearls, another a tiny clipboard. I kept them by the lean-to, a quiet joke. Evelyn faded, lessonless, her name a cautionary tale. Sentinel grazed, Caleb laughed, and I fought one day at a time, anchored by a horse who'd faced fire and stayed. The festival returned the next year, bigger, brighter. Sentinel led the opening, his coat gleaming, Caleb at his side. A girl, maybe 5, ran up, her dad a vet like me. She hugged Sentinel's leg, fearless. "Thank you," she whispered like she knew. I smiled, my fight lighter, the dirt long washed away. Evelyn lost, not to me, but to a horse who'd carried me home. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.